Hey, what's up everyone? Hope you're doing well out there. Welcome into Fantasy Filmball, the show where we turn movies into sports and sports into something we don't talk about here. My name is Matt.
And my name is Dyl. Guess what time it is? We are drafting here on the show, continuing this series. It's one of my favorite things that we get to do, and today is an MCU villain draft in honor of Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania. Because the MCU, love it or hate it, they present some pretty good villains to the table, and I have to say, Matt.
Or not. That's the thing. I mean, this is some people's complaints about the MCU.
It is.
The villains are shit. So let's see. Hopefully we both end up with really good teams, right?
Hopefully that's the thing. And I would like to say I'm now in my villain arc because I've won a few in a row. And I'm looking to continue with that here because I've won a Spielberg draft.
You fucking trounced me in that goddamn M. Night
I've won
Shyamalan.
a Spielberg draft. I've won a Shyamalan draft. I'm collecting the directors, and I've won 2 straight Oscar drafts. So I got to get all my stones right. I've got the Oscars. I got the directors. Give me the villains. Thanos, I'm coming. Infinity Saga, the best MCU villain that we've had to date. And honestly, the best one we're probably ever going to get in the MCU.
Man, that's exactly what I expected you to do. That's the obvious number one. Thanos just makes sense to be number one, especially because he's the only villain that's gotten, like, a solo movie. Because Infinity War is very much a Thanos solo movie.
I mean, he's the only villain to technically end their movie with a W.
So for my first pick here, obviously you took Thanos, the big bad right there. But you know what? I am going to have to take the original big bad of the series, the first villain to be a villain across multiple movies, because the MCU had a problem for a while where you'd get one movie, great villain, throw them away forever. But that didn't happen with Loki, who showed up in Thor, then was the main villain in the Avengers, and Thor 2, and has eventually had a bit of an arc turned around. He now has his own show where he's no longer the villain, he is the hero. So Loki, played by Tom Hiddleston, what an iconic character. I would actually say not my favorite villain. I don't think he's a very good villain, but he is such a charismatic character. I like him much more as just like a side character than I do as a villain. And so that's why I have to go with him number one. Best character who happens to be a villain. Not the best villain, because the best villain prize goes to Killmonger in Black Panther, played by Michael B. Jordan. Yeah. The best villain. You said Thanos is the best villain. Killmonger is the best villain. I mean, people make this argument with Spider-Man. Tobey Maguire is the best Peter Parker. Andrew Garfield is the best Spider-Man. But Tom Holland is a perfect mix of both. Loki is the best character who is a villain. Killmonger is the best villain. Thanos is probably the perfect mix of the two. But Killmonger, fucking incredible villain, and that's why I gotta go with those two.
Yeah, I told you the other night when we came up with this idea that whoever has pick one, I think is at a disadvantage, because I think there's a strong top 3, and it's just what order you take them in. And that's the top 3. But you mentioned Spider-Man there. Spider-Man, he's got himself a great villain discography, and because of No Way Home, I am able to draft this villain. So give me the Green Goblin. Willem Dafoe delivers a all-time MCU villain performance, in my opinion. You only get the Goblin for a little bit in this movie, but when he's there, he commands the screen. He steals the movie, and to me, that's what being a villain is all about. But speaking about stealing a movie, this person is probably in the worst movie that we've drafted so far. However, he commands the screen when he's on there, and I'm going to the other big Avengers villain, because we have Thanos off the board, we have Loki off the board, so give me Ultron.
I thought you were going to do a different one.
No, Ultron, I want him because I am of the belief until Infinity War came out, Age of Ultron was the best Avengers movie. However, now I can completely say it's not, and I don't think it yelled at anymore because I don't like the original Avengers movie.
Honestly, I'm not a fan of Age of Ultron. But that said, I mean, I think James Spader does a great job. His voice is perfect for the role. I was so worried that you were going to pick my next pick, and I have to go with Kang the Conqueror, not just for Ant-Man 3, but also for Loki. Because
he's not a villain in Loki.
He is a villain in Loki. He is the big bad of the entire show. In Loki, he is the one pulling the strings the entire time. The whole show long, we're going, okay, who's the guy behind this? Who is running the TVA? And it's he who remains. It is Jonathan Majors as Kang. And yes, he's also in Ant-Man 3, and he also kills it in Ant-Man 3 despite not being well written in that movie. He kills it. He owns it. He is menacing. Jonathan Majors,
I'll give you that.
Kang.
But
also, Ant-Man 3 made me want to go back and rewatch his episode of Loki so badly.
That's true. But I'm going to give it a spoiler alert for everyone out there. If you haven't seen Quantumania, get out of here. Or actually, don't get out of here. Skip like 20 seconds ahead. 3, 2, 1. Kang loses to ants. He's a scrub. Scrub. This Kang is a scrub. The other Kangs, they're so cool. But this Kang is a scrub. He lost to ants.
Yeah, but still, I mean, I don't think that how a villain loses should define them. I mean, I feel like Ultron lost in a pretty unformidable way.
That's why they're going in this tier, though. We got the big four out of the way, so now it's time where we have some of the scrubs come in, because your next pick, I'm guaranteeing, is going to be a scrub.
No, it's not, because no matter what you think I'm gonna pick, it's been Agatha all along. Because I'm picking Agatha Harkness from WandaVision, portrayed by Kathryn Hahn, who is such a captivating villain. I actually think WandaVision has an argument for possibly being one of the best things that the MCU has produced. It's definitely the highlight of Phase 4, in my mind. And Agatha is a fantastic villain. I think that she brings a perfect balance of menace and humor, and she is the perfect foil to Wanda. So, you know what? Fuck it. Agatha Harkness.
I'm going for a trend with my team. I'm going for the trend of where the villains, they find a W. Thanos, he won for a movie. Green Goblin, he did defeat Spider-Man's morals. And Ultron did change the Avengers forever. And my next villain, he changed Spider-Man forever. And that is Mysterio. Because in Far From Home, he reveals Peter's identity. He makes it that Spider-Man is a villain. He is a bad guy that then sets up the whole events for No Way Home and essentially changes the MCU forever. We could say, oh, the multiverse starts with Infinity War. It starts with Endgame. No, it started with Far From Home because Mysterio ruining Peter Parker's life causes him to then break the multiverse. Finish out my team. There's a few options I could go for. I don't want 3 Spider-Man villains, so I'm going to skip my pick I would have gone with. So I'm going to end up with a villain that is probably a one-and-done villain that only shows up in one movie, but hey, he was pretty good in this movie. He was a good scene stealer, and he did change the hero's trajectory of how they live their life, and that was the Mandarin in Shang-Chi, because he is built up throughout the whole movie to be this character. He ends up being a completely different person at the end, and then he changes Shang-Chi's whole personality and how he has to live his life as a hero going forward. So overall, my team really encapsulates changing their heroes, defeating them sometimes, but also, at the end of the day, just making their lives either havoc or for the better afterwards.
Honestly, I like that. I think any good villain should change the way that the hero thinks. So that's really good. And you know what? Tony Leung deserves the whole world. He is fantastic in that movie. But for me, I'm going to end off my team with the villain most recently seen in Black Panther Wakanda Forever, and that is not really a villain, an anti-hero who undoubtedly will become an Avenger down the road, and that is Namor from Wakanda Forever. And his portrayal by Tenoch Huerta is just so compelling, right? Like, this is a character who has every right, similarly to Killmonger, has every right to be pissed off at the rest of the world. The thing that Black Panther does so well with villains is that they're just the tiniest bit different from the main character. It's just how do they approach their feelings. T'Challa in the first film with Killmonger, they are two sides of the same coin. And same with Shuri and Namor from this film. That said, he is going to come around and probably be a hero in a few of the future films, and I would even see him possibly being an Avenger at some point. So we've got that to look forward to, and he is a great villain when he does appear as a villain, because this guy is powerful as hell. So let's recap. What teams do we have? Start us off, Dylan.
So I had the first overall pick. I went with Thanos, of course. I had to collect those stones. Hopefully he just pushes me to the win in this category. I also had to pair with him Green Goblin from No Way Home, Ultron from Avengers Age of Ultron, Mysterio from Far From Home, and the Mandarin from Shang-Chi.
And on my team, I have Loki, Killmonger, Kang the Conqueror, Agatha Harkness, and Namor. there we go. That is our MCU villains draft. I feel pretty good about this. I think that we both did really well, but that's up for you to decide. So head to our YouTube community tab and vote. Vote on whose team is best, because your votes will decide who gets to start next week.
Our draft next week is there's 10 Best Picture nominees. They all had to be directed by someone, and we are drafting the Best Picture nominees' directors' filmographies. That means every Steven Spielberg movie, every James Cameron movie counts towards those specific votes. So having that first pick could be very meaningful. Having that 2-3 combo could be very meaningful. It all comes down to next week to see, because after that, we have our Best Picture draft.
You heard the man. Go and vote. Let us know what you think. And, of course, comment down below. Let us know who drafted the best team. Let us know if we're just fucking MCU shills, are defending the death of cinema or some shit like that. I don't know. Roast us or toast us. As always, thank you so much for watching. My name is Matt.
And my name is Dyl, and this is Fantasy Filmball.